Hey there, movie fans. Time for a brand new episode of FYC. I'm Scott Mance, joined as always by my colleagues, my peers, my experts, my brothers and sisters in arms here, the amazing Perri Nemiroff, the mighty Jeff Snyder. Welcome, my friends. Let's get right into it. We had the SAG Award nominations last week, and what the hell was that? My gosh. Perri, what is your initial reaction to the SAG nominations before we get into the details?
Listen, there's a bunch of very big surprises here. But I mean, if we're weighing the ones that did get nominations and should have gotten nominations against the ones that didn't, or the surprises, I mean, like, most of them are there, but I've got a bunch of head scratchers here that we need to talk about.
Oh, for sure. Jeff, how about you?
I mean, it wasn't that wild since there were a lot of, choices that just seem strange to others, but not so to me, like Bradley Cooper, Ruth Negga, Jared Leto. But there were some definite snubs where it was like, wait, what?
Yep, exactly. Yes, exactly. Wait, what? Well, before we get into the biggest wait what of them all, let's start out with outstanding cast. The nominees are Belfast, Coda, hooray, Coda, Don't Look Up, House of Gucci, King Richard. So, Perri, looking at what got nominated, what's the biggest surprise to you about which of the casts did get nominated here?
That's the obvious answer. It's House of Gucci. You guys know how I feel about this conversation. And listen, I reviewed House of Gucci pretty highly. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and I can very much get behind an awards campaign for Lady Gaga in particular. She was the heart and soul of the movie for me, and I think she delivers big yet again in that. But when you take that movie, that ensemble, and you compare it to the other ones we have out there, like, just for instance, let's say The Power of the Dog or West Side Story,
Yep.
I don't quite understand how House of Gucci got the nomination in this particular category, and those movies, or, even throwing in Being the Ricardos didn't. It just doesn't make all that much sense to me.
I agree. Listen, House of Gucci was the biggest head scratcher for me of what did get in. I didn't love Don't Look Up. I liked it, but I certainly understand why it did get nominated for outstanding cast. You could have that cast read from a phone book, and it would have been nominated for a SAG Award for Best Cast. But Jeff, what is your take on what did get nominated before we get into what didn't?
I mean, the head scratcher to me is actually Don't Look Up. It's not House of Gucci, because House of Gucci, we're at least talking about Lady Gaga for a nomination. We're talking about Jared Leto for a nomination. We're not talking about anybody in Don't Look Up for an individual nomination. Don't give me Leonardo DiCaprio or Kate Blanchett or Jennifer Lawrence. Come on. So that to me is the most surprising inclusion. But both of those movies, are entertaining to an extent, a lot more so than another Netflix title that's almost sure to get 3 Oscar nominations for acting.
Well, Jeff, maybe that's the reason why, though, because we can also have that same kind of conversation with something like King Richard, where Ingenue Ellis was left off. So, we always want to pick the things that are most deserving and that are truly the best, but we repeat this every season. These are human beings voting for these awards, and sometimes the mentality can be, well, if I vote for it in this category, I won't vote for it in this category, and maybe we're seeing some of that at play here.
All right, just to be clear, when it comes to the SAG winners, every member of SAG-AFTRA votes for the winners. That's more than 100,000 people. When it comes to the nominations, there's a nominating committee of about 2,500 SAG members that vote for the film side, and another 2,500 SAG members that vote for the TV side. So the nominating committee is only, quote unquote, only 2,500 SAG members strong. So, but clearly that is still a lot of people when you compare most of the other voting booths and the guilds and everything. So, but I agree, Jeff, I mean, Don't Look Up is a great cast, but were all those cast members doing their best work in Don't Look Up? I don't think so. So you both bring up really, really good points. But of the 5, I would say the biggest head scratcher to me is House of Gucci getting in. And the biggest head scratcher of what did not get in, Perri, you have your hands raised. Go.
I'm so heartbroken, and I don't understand Kristen Stewart for Spencer. I mean, you guys are not gonna, like, I'm not gonna stop talking about how I think Spencer is deserving of nominations in pretty much every category we've got. But in particular, she just felt like the clear front runner to me. And yes, there were a whole bunch of stellar performances delivered in 2021. But if I was voting for not just a nomination but a win, I'd be picking her. And it's not even like we're talking about her not winning the SAG Award. We're talking about her not getting nominated, and that does not compute for me whatsoever.
Jeff, are you in cahoots with this paranormal activity here?
I mean, I was certainly surprised. I thought Kristen Stewart was great in Spencer, particularly that third act. So yeah, it definitely caught me by surprise, especially like how she's been working the town. And even though I know she said on like a variety podcast she doesn't give an shit about the Oscars, I think it's clear that she does. But again, Variety also ran a column that maybe this snub benefits her. Now we're all talking about her, and she's gone from the front runner to the underdog. So.
Yeah, that was Owen Gleiberman's write-up on maybe the snub did her good. Without question, I mean, Kristen Stewart is the biggest snub in all of the SAG nominations here. She was my pick to win the SAG Award for lead actress, and she wasn't even nominated. She's still the front runner to me for lead actress at the Oscars. Definitely, I mean, what a big snub there. But some of the other snubs that I did see, listen, I regardless of how I feel personally about this film, the fact that Power of the Dog was not nominated for Outstanding Cast, the fact that a movie that I did love, not nominated for Outstanding Cast, West Side Story. I mean, how do you not nominate that cast? Perri, what's your take on both of those movies not getting nominated for Best Cast?
I think both of them are kind of shocking to me. I thought that they were both shoo-ins, and I'm especially just disappointed by the West Side Story omission, just because that young ensemble is pretty exceptional, and there are a whole bunch of names on that list that I think should be taking the West Side Story experience and basically using it to skyrocket their name value and get out there more. And I look forward to seeing them in more films. So to see them not get this kind of recognition is pretty disappointing to me. And I'm plain old surprised. I would just think that this nominating committee would go for something like that.
And Jeff, what about Power of the Dog not getting nominated for Outstanding Cast?
I was definitely more surprised about the West Side Story omission. I think that is a real rebuke of the two leads in that film. Maybe you could boil it down to one of the leads, Ansel, but I just you have a movie that's a romance in which the two leads, even though the fans of this movie acknowledge that these people have no chemistry. So I see how maybe that is what cost it. With Power of the Dog, you have three really good performances, right? Jesse Plemons is invisible in this movie. He's invisible. Okay. So all of them got individual SAG nominations. There's really no need to honor the ensemble, and there's really no other performance beyond those main four that stands out, like in King Richard, where you have the Williams parents, the Williams sisters, John Bernthal. Like, there's a whole bunch to admire there. So I'm happy with this field, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm definitely with Perri, especially both of you, really. The bigger disappointment for West Side Story not getting nominated for Outstanding Cast. The movie is more than Ariana DeBose's phenomenal performance, and she was nominated. I just really wish that movie did better at the box office. I wish it was having a stronger showing this award season. I love it. Power of the Dog, Jeff, you're right. I mean, the individual performances that deserve to be nominated here were nominated. But the biggest happy surprise was seeing Coda get nominated for Outstanding Cast. Now, the question for you, Perri, is this. Does the fact that Coda gets a cast nomination, which is the SAG equivalent of Best Picture, even though they are very different, does that Coda showing in Best Cast boost its chances? Are we seeing, perhaps, as you like to call this movie, like starting to really gain some momentum here, as you like to say?
All the yeses to that. This is just one of many signs that its stock is rising, and I think it is basically paving the way to to a nomination with, I don't know, I'm tempted to say certainty at this point.
Fingers crossed on that. Jeff, what's your take on that?
Just look at the nominees: Belfast, Coda, King Richard. These are feel-good movies. Okay, it's not Dune. Dune could have been in here, right, with that cast and all those names. Power of the Dog. This is again a rebuke to those dark Oscar movies, the prestige titles, or whatever. The acting branch is the largest branch in the Academy. They want to feel good. I'm so glad that they nominated Coda and King Richard, and I do think both are in the mix to win.
I'm so happy that Coda got nominated. I mean, look, for Coda could pull a Parasite. When that movie was not, when Parasite was nominated for Outstanding Cast, and then it won Outstanding Cast, that absolutely is something that absolutely could happen. I mean, what do you think? What do you think will win here in Outstanding Cast, Perri?
Definitely not Don't Look Up or House of Gucci. I'm tempted to think that Belfast again is going to be on the decline, especially because they didn't give either of the Belfast guys nominations.
That's right.
So I don't think that's gonna wind up winning. I really do think it's down to Coda and King Richard. And I think if one or the other wins, we're gonna be having that conversation of, oh, after this win, does it have a chance of winning Best Picture? And I think in both cases, it's gonna wind up being a yes.
I think it's definitely down to King Richard or Coda, and I think that King Richard is going to win in another category. I think that's going to, the love for that film will show up in the category that we're going to get to, and Coda definitely has a very, very good chance. It certainly deserves it. Outstanding female actor, as we like to say, Best Actress. The nominees are Jessica Chastain, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter, Lady Gaga, House of Gucci, Jennifer Hudson, Respect, Nicole Kidman, Being the Ricardos. Again, no Kristen Stewart. Jeff, who wins Best Actress at the SAGs?
Oh boy, geez. I think it's between Kidman and Coleman, and I could see Nicole actually taking this one.
Yep. How about you, Perri?
I am in agreement with Jeff, and I think the sign that could happen is Javier Bardem getting the nomination in leading actor, because I just
You
think
are right.
I think that's a sure sign that there's a whole lot of Being the Ricardos support in that organization. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I agree with you. I mean, I wish that Being the Ricardos got nominated for Outstanding Cast. I mean, that it really is an amazing cast. I mean, my goodness. But I think I'm with the two of you. I think that Nicole Kidman is going to take the lead actress for Lucy and Being the Ricardos. Outstanding male actor. Speaking of which, we got Javier Bardem, Being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch, Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield, Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith, King Richard, Denzel Washington, Tragedy of Macbeth. Jeff, who takes it?
I just think this is the year of Will Smith. As good as Andrew Garfield was in Tick, Tick, Boom, I just wouldn't go up against Will Smith as King Richard. He was fantastic, and I think it's his turn.
Perri, what do you think?
Not that I wouldn't be happy if Will Smith won it, but I am going to go with my heart on this one and say Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom, because of, it's out there. I could say it at this point, but because of the Spider-Man boost, and also because this is the only place it is getting nominated. So I think that there is going to be a good deal of support for him there. I will say, I'm a big fan of Being the Ricardos. You all know that. I think Javier Bardem is deserving, but obviously he is the more surprising nomination of the bunch here. It just disappoints me a little that it bumps Cyrano and Peter Dinklage out of the conversation, because I wanted to see him go all the way to an Oscar nomination. And I think this is a sign that, he might be falling off onto the other side. And
that's on MGM. The campaign has been terrible. They delayed the movie to the end of February. I just feel like they're doing everything they can to make it so that he doesn't get nominated. And I do feel like Denzel being in here cements him as an Oscar nominee.
Listen, I feel like Peter Dinklage is magnificent in Cyrano, but no one is talking about it. Unfortunately, the surge in Omicron, or seen it, right? I mean, the surge in Omicron really, did you know, they were supposed to have the big premiere at the Academy Museum, and it got pushed back. The release got pushed back. I agree that Javier Bardem is a surprise nomination here, and that does show support for Being the Ricardos. And if the SAGs divided their lead acting categories between drama and musical or comedy, you'd see, just like at the Golden Globes, King Richard wins for Will Smith and Andrew Garfield wins for Tick, Tick, Boom. But that's not going to happen here. My heart is with Andrew Garfield. It's a performance of a lifetime that he gave in Tick, Tick, Boom. But I also do think that Will Smith gave the performance of his lifetime. And I think that this is the category where King Richard does get the love. Moving on to supporting actress, Katrina Balfe for Belfast, Cate Blanchett for Nightmare Alley. That was a surprise. Ariana DeBose, West Side Story. Kirsten Dunst, Power of the Dog. Ruth Negga for Casting. No nomination here. This was a snub for Ingenue Ellis for supporting actress for King Richard. Jeff, what's your take on that snub?
Outrage.
Outrage.
Outrage. I feel like Ingenue Ellis definitely deserved a nomination. And I do think that she will be among the final 5 when it comes to Oscar. The Cate Blanchett Nightmare Alley one is just a bit of a head scratcher for me. And I don't think that Katrina Balfe is a lock necessarily for Belfast, given the slip in support that we've seen overall for that movie.
Perri, what do you think? Do you think that Cate Blanchett for Nightmare Alley, which was a surprise, sort of took the place of Ingenue Ellis for Richard? Yes.
Without a doubt. And it's extremely unfortunate because Ingenue Ellis 100% should be in the running here. And I've said it before. I must say it again every time we bring it up. I love GDT. I don't love Nightmare Alley. And regardless of whether I like the movie or not, I don't think it is of the same caliber as the rest of these movies that we're discussing. And, I hate saying that someone isn't deserving of an honor like this, because I know how that would make me feel if I were Cate Blanchett, but she shouldn't be in this category, even though she was probably one of my favorite parts of Nightmare Alley. But Ingenue Ellis should be in there. And I actually think the winner is going to Ariana DeBose, because wow, is she taking not even just Jeff, I saw that face. Not even just the industry or a little Twitter bubble. She's taking the world by storm now. I mean, just like rave reactions from her hosting Saturday Night Live. She's getting out there in the right way. And I think all that talk is going to continue to build, and she could get the win here.
I think she's going all the way, Ariana DeBose, with the SAGs going all the way to the Oscars on March 27th. Jeff, is Ariana DeBose the one to pick here and moving forward?
I mean, I think that she is, but I am reluctant to predict an Oscar win because, again, it's just different when you fill out ballots for these guilds and for the Oscars. It's a different weight, a different feeling. History does not remember SAG winners. It remembers Oscar winners.
I agree.
And to give Ariana DeBose, who may have a very long career ahead of her, this award over Kirsten Dunst, who has been doing it for 25 plus years, I just don't know if I see the Academy going in that direction. So I think this award is very much up in the air, but I will go with DeBose for the SAG.
I think that Ariana DeBose in West Side Story gives the performance that Jennifer Hudson gave for Dreamgirls back in 2006. It's just such a phenomenal performance. It's like, well, of course she's going to go all the way. So I'm team Ariana DeBose here for supporting actress. Supporting male actor here, you got Ben Affleck for Tender Bar, Bradley Cooper for Licorice Pizza, Troy Kotsur for Coda, Jared Leto, hi Perri, Jared Leto for House of Gucci, and Cody Smit-McPhee for Power of the Dog. So Perri, I'm going to turn it to you. Who wins supporting actor?
For the record, that SAG nomination for Leto means nothing. I stand by my original side of the bet. This is not turning into an Academy Award nomination. Ben Affleck is obviously the big surprise. I actually still haven't even seen The Tender Bar, just because as I prioritized the movies that I needed to watch, that felt like it was out of awards consideration. So I haven't even bothered. Now, clearly I have to. But when it comes to the win in this category, no contest. It's over. It is Cody Smit-McPhee.
Really? Oh, interesting. Jeff?
I mean, I think Perry's probably right. Again, Cody Smit-McPhee, even though he is very young, he's been around for a decade. Like, he's paid some dues. And as much as I didn't like that movie, I acknowledge that he was really good in it. So I could see him winning, but I wouldn't write off Troy Kotsur just yet. I think that
Me
there's
neither.
something kind of some special magic in that performance, and people do clearly love Coda, and he seems to be the acting representative from that film. So I'm going to say it's closer than we think, but still give the edge to young Cody.
You know what? That really is. I thought you were both going to say that Troy was sort of the front runner to win here, but I see both of your points, and you're right. It is a toss up between Troy Kotsur for Coda and Cody Smit-McPhee for Power of the Dog. My heart says Troy Kotsur takes it, but in my head, I see where Cody Smit-McPhee could take it. That's going to be a very interesting category to watch. Now, as far as like, SAG acting ensemble, in most cases, in the last, like, I would say 6 or 7 years, the movie that won the SAG award for Best Cast did not go on to win the Oscar for Best Picture. Last year, Best Cast went to Chicago 7 and Best Picture went to Nomadland. But the year before that, Parasite did win both. But anyway.
Again, this is the thing that stats like this, they lack all nuance, because what were we going to do? Give it to Nomadland last year when there's really like 2 actors in the movie?
Yeah, no, you're right.
You're right. Like, of course that's not going to win.
Exactly. No, look, Trial of the Chicago 7 definitely deserved to win Best Acting Ensemble. Let's move on to a category that I like to call Best Cinematography. We're going to predict the Oscar nominees here. I feel like this is a slam dunk for the top choice here. Perri, you're shaking your head. I saw your Gold Derby pick. It's mine too. What do you got?
It has to be. Please let it be. My heart's behind it too. It's Dune.
Yes, absolutely. No movie looked better than Dune this past year, although there is a lot of competition there. Jeff, is Dune on your list?
It is. I had it at number 1. I mean,
number 1.
Again,
yeah, I mean, come on.
A boring movie, but it looked gorgeous.
All right, then. Number 2. What do you have at number 2, Jeff?
Another boring movie that looked gorgeous. The Power of the Dog.
Okay, you have the Power Dog at number 2. Perri,
Yes.
I know you have it on your list, but you have it at number 2. Okay.
Yep.
Power Dog is my number 4, but it's on my list. My number 2 is West Side Story. Janusz Kaminski is a 2-time Oscar winner for Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List. He was nominated for 4 additional Academy Awards, the last of which was Lincoln from 2012. Is West Side Story on your list, Perri? You're shaking your head yes.
West Side Story is my number 4, but I wouldn't be surprised if we revisited this conversation in even a week, and I was more in line with what you're saying, Mance.
Yeah. I mean, West Side Story, I've watched the movie a couple times now at home. Even though I did see it in theaters, and that is definitely the place to see it. And Janusz Kaminski just really is an outstanding, legendary, brilliant cinematographer. So we, Jeff, where's West Side Story on your list?
Perri and I have a mind meld going on so far. I've got it at number 4 as well.
All right. Wow. Okay. So we have Dune, West Side Story, and Power of the Dog all on our list. So that means number 3 for you, Jeff, is what?
The Tragedy of Macbeth, which is, again, a boring movie that looks gorgeous. I mean, visually, it's stunning.
Perri?
The mind meld continues. If I'm rooting for Tragedy of Macbeth in any category, it is this category, because I think that was the element of the film that I was connecting with and in awe of the most.
Yeah, Tragedy of Macbeth, I have it number 5. Bruno Del Bonell is a 5-time Oscar nominee for Darkest Hour, Inside Llewyn Davis, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, A Very Long Engagement, and Amelie. Remember Amelie from 20 years ago? So yeah, okay, so we have these 4 movies are on our lists, various places. All right, so what are we missing?
What is your number 3, Scott Mance?
My number 3, my number 3 is Nightmare Alley. Dan Lustin, I thought the movie looked fantastic. He's a prior Oscar nominee for the last movie that Guillermo del Toro directed and won his Academy Award for The Shape of Water. Say what you like about the film, Perri, but do you think that Nightmare Alley gets into cinematography?
I do think some of the technical aspects of that movie are the absolute best. And yeah, like, I think this field is pretty limited. Like, I think we're down to something like maybe 7 or 8 titles that have any shot at all. And Nightmare Alley is definitely one of them. But for my number 5, I went with my heart a little more and what I genuinely think should be winning. And we're going back to the Spencer conversation. And when we talk about the technical elements of Spencer, that to me is the definition of something that should get nominated for an Academy Award. Because when it comes to the cinematography and many other elements of Spencer, it's not just about someone doing their work in their department really well. It's an element of the film that defines whether or not the whole concept works. Unless the cinematography, the score, the production design, I can go on, was pitch perfect from top to bottom in that movie, that story would not have been nearly as effective. The cinematography enhances the movie overall. It is also stunning, and that is why that should get the 5th nomination.
The cinematography, as well as the costume and the wardrobe design for Spencer, are both magnificent. Jeff, is Nightmare Alley on your list? If not, is Spencer on your list?
Neither one is on my list. So
it's Belfast.
Yes. So for 6, 7, and 8, I had Nightmare Alley, Spencer, and The Green Knight. But for number 5, I ended up going with Belfast. I think it will just ride that wave of it's an awards title and The Green Knight is not. Maybe I'm reading too much into the black and white of it all. Maybe there'll only be one black and white nominee with Macbeth. So I think it's totally plausible that Nightmare Alley gets in here, but I ended up going with Belfast.
Well, look, these are the movies that are legit outside of the 4 that we all agreed on. The other ones that are completely like legit worthy of being nominated are Nightmare Alley, Belfast, Spencer, and like you pointed out, Jeff, The Green Knight. Those are the movies. So what gets in at number 5? I was going to pick Belfast, but because I already did pick, Macbeth and like 2 black and white movies getting nominated for cinematography, I don't know. But Spencer, I just think that it's a gorgeous movie, and I mean, it's worthy. I don't know. I mean, Nightmare Alley is Guillermo del Toro's a person here, Dan Lawson. I don't know. So what do we do?
Let's figure out who everyone would jump to if you could. I would jump, if I had to, I'd go from Belfast to Nightmare Alley. What would you do, Scott?
I would go from Nightmare Alley to Spencer.
Okay. And Perri?
Wait, how are we phrasing this now?
If you had to pick a movie of those 3, that's not the one that you chose.
That's not the one that I chose. Man. Belfast.
So we literally all nothing has 2 votes again.
Wow. This is tough. Well, look,
Wait, I'm sorry. Was Nightmare Alley on both of your lists?
It was on mine, not Jeff's.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I did Belfast with a backup of Nightmare Alley.
Yeah, Perri Spencer. Jeff is Belfast. Nightmare Alley. Now, okay, look. I would be perfectly happy switching my vote here to Spencer.
See, I don't think it's Spencer. I think if anything gets in besides Belfast, it's Nightmare Alley.
Oh my gosh. What do we do? Everyone watching, who's your pick for the number 5 spot? Comment below. Let us know what you think, or hit us up on social media. Perri,
it's tough.
Okay, wait. I have an idea. Rank the 4 remaining ones. I go, and we'll give points to each. I go Spencer, Belfast, Nightmare Alley, The Green Knight.
Okay, how do you rank the other 4, Jeff?
I think we all are in agreement that The Green Knight is probably at the bottom.
Yeah, all right, so let's take that out.
Right. So I would go Belfast, Nightmare Alley, Spencer.
I would go, well, now I'm saying Spencer, Nightmare Alley, Belfast.
Well, that just seals the deal then. Then it's Spencer.
All right. Spencer is it. Spencer, but we could change our minds in a week. Who knows? But I think without question that the 4 that we will agree on are Dune, West Side Story, Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth. Spencer gets in by a hair, but that could change.
So Perri wins the argument, but I want to note it for the record that I think Spencer is at the bottom of that list.
Spencer wins the argument. Perri, I was really on the fence, and I think Perri just helped me tip the scales in favor of Spencer. So thank you, Perri. Now let's move on to VFX, visual effects. Who do you got? Who's your number 1 here, Jeff, for visual effects?
I went with, I think, the definite winner in this category is Dune.
Yeah, the winner, number one, is not just the lock for number one. It's a
Yeah,
lock.
I don't even think any of these movies even have a shot.
Perry.
It's the race is over. I mean, 6
Yeah,
VES nods. It's been the front runner all along. This is Dune's award. Done.
for sure, no question about it. But we do have to fill in 4 of the slots. So, Perry, what's your number 2?
I'm going in VES nomination order and picking the one that scored 4 nominations. And I think it's very deserving of an Academy Award nomination. It's Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings.
That's my number 2 as well. Jeff, where's Shang-Chi on your list?
Also number 2.
All right.
Because
Okay.
again,
okay.
it's different. It's not Spider-Man, Matrix, Bond. Those are sequels. Shang-Chi was at least original.
I've loved Shang-Chi.
It has the same Marvel effects as most movies. But yeah, number 2 for sure.
They also do a really exceptional job in that movie of leaning into the creativity and going big with it, but still making it feel real world with, and when you consider what they do, especially in the third act of that movie, it's kind of mind-blowing that they managed to achieve that.
I think Shang-Chi is one of the best movies of the year. I think it's a better movie than Spider-Man, even though I love the last hour of Spider-Man. Speaking of which, Spider-Man is my number 3. Perry.
Spider-Man's my number 3 as well.
Jeff?
It's my number 3, although I really wasn't that impressed by the visual effects in that movie. But I think it'll ride the wave of everybody likes Spider-Man, and it made a ton of money. So yeah.
You think everyone likes it? I don't know. I can't tell. All right, Perry, who's your number 4?
Well, that is the reason why I put Spider-Man No Way Home above my next 2 picks. My number 4 is the one with 3 VES nominations. It is Godzilla vs. Kong.
Godzilla vs. Kong. Okay.
Godzilla vs. Kong is friggin' gorgeous. You know, when I edit together those clips for my montage at the end of every year,
yeah.
I try not to go too heavy on any one particular film. I think the visuals in that film was one of the hardest for me to hold back on. There's just so many incredible frames in that movie that are heavily dependent on how good the visual effects look.
That image of Kong punching Godzilla in the face is so damn good. Jeff, is Godzilla vs. Kong on your list?
It's not. If I had to do my own list, it would be, because I also thought it was a gorgeous movie, and like the only reason that the only stuff I liked about that movie were these huge battles. But I also feel like we've seen those characters on screen before, and I think that the recency bias is going to play an issue there. That movie came out way back in March.
Yeah,
we'll see if it can stay in the conversation that long.
Who's number 4 on your list then?
I went with The Matrix Resurrections, even though I feel like that movie shows me absolutely nothing new at all. It just seems like it's going to get in. I don't know.
See, that's why, I mean, what you're saying, yeah, Matrix Resurrections, looked like more of the same. Yeah, so did Godzilla vs. Kong, looked like more of the same. The movie, to me, that I thought the visual effects were great, and they were not over the top, CGI type visual effects. No Time to Die. No Time to Die. I think it's a great action film. I think it's right in the, right below Skyfall for me as his best movie. The action scenes are great. The visual effects are great, and I think it gets in. Is there any way I can convince the two?
So that's your number 4, Scott.
That's my number 4. Yeah.
All right. No Time to Die is my number 5.
All right. Great. Perry.
Well, I, again, let the Visual Effects Society guide my choices. So that means The Matrix Resurrections got my 5th spot, and No Time to Die would be number 6, if there were a number 6.
Okay, well, I think just because Jeff and I both have No Time to Die on our list, it gets in. So now we have to pick our 5th movie. And who was that? So it was...
Well, Matrix was my 4, and it was her 5, so...
All right, well, there it is.
Godzilla... Is that another one that we're debating? That was my 4, and what was it on your list?
Only got your one vote.
Oh, it wasn't on your list at all, man. It's okay.
Yeah, it was not on my
list.
list.
Godzilla.
So okay, so Matrix was on both of your lists. So there it is. There's the 5 for visual effects.
There is one movie that I feel like we need to talk about.
Okay.
Not Eternals or Ghostbusters or Black Widow, and it's not Nightmare Alley either.
Is
which
it Free Guy?
It's Free Guy, yeah. Free Guy is an original. And so I toyed with Free Guy over Matrix or Bond. At the end of the day, I had a hard time putting it in over those huge franchise titles. But what do you guys think of Free Guy's chances?
Free Guy doesn't have that sort of brand awareness that a lot of these other movies do, but it was different. It was totally original. It was a total hoot. Free Guy could get in. Free Guy could get in. Perri, what do you think?
I hate to say it, but I don't think Free Guy can get in. I think it's fallen too far out of the race. But that is one of the titles that I got very sensitive about, and I kept it on my Gold Derby list until basically it felt like, I don't know, I just looked dumb for having it in there because it seemed like its chances were just rock bottom at this point.
Well,
you're never gonna look dumb on Gold Derby, Perri.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well,
everybody
I
will
mean,
come on Gold
but
Derby.
honestly, I stress about that nonstop. We've gone through this every single season where I don't know, I'm constantly debating what do you do with your Gold Derby page when, you know, on the one hand, you want to use that platform to potentially influence the race to boost the films that you are super passionate about, that you think are deserving. But on the other hand, it is a resource for predictions and figuring out what truly does have the best chances. So I feel like I always start in one zone and then slowly gravitate towards the other. And I'm in that other section at this point.
I always wait till the last minute to pick my choices for nominations. I feel like Gold
Agreed.
Derby has done me more harm than good in terms of work. But that's a whole other conversation. So the movies we're going to go with for visual effects are Dune, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, No Time to Die, and Matrix Redux, Resurrections. So there you go. Those are the 5. What a fun episode of FYC this was. An under 40 minutes. That is how we roll on FYC. Perri, once again, I say this every week, but thank you for keeping FYC going by putting it on your channel. Where else can people find you on social media?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Nemiroff. I was trying to think of something to plug. How about this? All my stream interviews, my Melissa Barrera Ladies Night. Check it out.
Okay, Jeff, where else can people find you?
BTLnews.com, doing all kinds of interviews with composers and cinematographers, the craftspeople who are we are all about to start talking about on FYC. And by the way, if you're a studio rep watching this, feel free to advertise on FYC. We need a sponsor, guys.
Yes, a sponsor would be great. Talk about a show that deserves a sponsor.
Yeah, people watch this.
This is our 4th year. This is our 4th season. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MovieMance. Make sure you share this episode of FYC on your social media platform so other movie fans who don't yet know about us will discover us. Please share FYC with all of your movie fans. We really, really do appreciate it. And make sure you check back next time for FYC for another fun-filled episode with the 3 most fun award season pundits you will ever find anywhere. Until the next episode of FYC, FYC you later.